skill gap, and it's not just in this region, but all across the world. There is research that more than 60% of the people in the financial sector, they need an upskilling. We cannot replace people at this scale. There is an upskilling which is required. The second being, for example, there is a need, there are demographic changes coming. So in this region in particular, 60% of the population is below the age of 35. So which means that the system is training to absorb that capacity and also to train that type of capacity to be productive for overall economy and also the financial sector. And the third thing which is coming up is inclusivity and also attrition. So with attrition, so there is people of capability moving out of the organization and out of the countries, and also only 15% of the banking sector in managerial and above roles comprise women. So there is a need for inclusivity as well in the sector to actually help it grow. So the first dimension is on the challenges. The second dimension that we'll discuss is on the changes which are coming up. So the changes which are coming up are driven by artificial intelligence and automation. So nearly 50 to 60% of the banking processes are automatable with the current technologies that are there, which actually means that it's not only the technology which is coming in, but also a lot of push on organizations to upgrade their skill set of people who are using those technologies. And then there is climate resilience finance. Again, ESGs and other things are much needed in for example, for the sectoral and what are you doing or the institutions are doing in this regard?
Thank you very much, Ali, and good morning. It's still good morning time to all of you. First of all, I would like to thank SAARC and the State Bank of Pakistan for gathering us all here. Of course, we are living in a very challenging era in terms of human resource. One, it has become very difficult to engage them. Second, because of this digital, I would say eruption of various digital technologies and all that, it has become very difficult to manage competitive workforce and meet the challenges of 21st century. Every day there is a new technology which is coming up, and we have to face the impact. In terms of HR, it becomes difficult for us. So some of the strategies which we have deployed over the last 7 years at one of the large organizations where I work for, Allied Bank, is that we have tried to develop their skill set, reskill them, upskill them to meet the challenges through digital acumen trainings. Constant learning curve is being observed. We have 4 management development centers across Pakistan, and they are purpose-built campuses. And in order to meet the challenges of these young generations, now that we are moving from millennials to Generation Z, Gen Z, each sect of this age-based employee force is different. They are unique in their approach towards work. Um, but I think attrition is one factor which has, for the last 6 7 years, the attrition has been maximum in the last year and the previous year because of the geopolitical and economic situation of Pakistan. A lot of young force wants to leave Pakistan and move away. So definitely, it's a challenging time. But I strongly believe, and I'm a very positive thinker in terms of that, these also offer us with an opportunity to come up with new strategies, new ways of engaging our employees, of helping them to develop their capacity. And one aspect which we have worked in the organization is agility. We form teams for project-based teams. We do not restrict their learning curve to only their own immediate skill set, which is or competency, which is required in their business or work scope. We, for example, for the last 3 years, we had been running digital acumen trainings for all people in order to build their digital equipment to a certain level. So these are some of the strategies we have deployed. But yet another thing is that Pakistan is moving through different phases, and I think we are evolving on in terms of um, e-banking and payment solution, digital payment solutions. And recently, the central bank has also taken very good initiatives and provided a RAST platform for banking transactions to be more transparent and convenient to the users. So the digital landscape in banking sector in Pakistan is evolving. So those banks which keep apace with them, with that evolution, are going to, take benefit out of it. So I don't see DeepSeek or AI or the digital technologies or solutions which are coming up as a threat. I see them as an opportunity for each one of us. This would give us more efficiencies, more time in order to evolve ourselves and represent and upskill ourselves to meet these challenges, in my opinion. So I think we should not take it as a threat. We should take it as an opportunity. Thank you, Ali. In case I've not addressed any of your question, you can ask me.
No, that's absolutely fine. And I fully agree that it's not uh, a threat. It should be taken as an opportunity. I think one figure was mentioned in the first session that there are 92 million jobs which are up for replacement as per World Economic Forum report. But that report also suggests that there are 170 million new jobs which are being created as well as because of technology. So essentially, it's about like 15% of the workforce which is going to increase because of new roles which are going to come up. So I think it should be like taken in that stat, and which actually takes me to, for example, the next point, and I would request Ahmed Bilal for your like input. And in particular, when we look at the being part of like a global organization, so and of course like from a technology sector which is fast changing. So how are is your organization like taking up this whole like rebuilding and shifting the capabilities of the organization at such scale? And also, for example, how do you see technology moving up in the direction, which skills will become more important in the future?
Thank you, Ali. I come from a very hardcore technology background, so I will try to share my experiences and what challenges we face every day and how we overcome them. And sometimes we're successful, and sometimes So I'll just share with you, in 2019, I came across a research. This was done by a tech company, and it said that the top jobs which were there in 2019, they did not even exist just 2 years back. It was 2017. So, and the challenge becomes that we are training, or we need those people which we don't. We're training a workforce now for jobs which we don't know in the 5 years later what exactly will be the jobs. So this is a challenge. This is a living, breathing challenge that if anyone knows that how exactly technology is going to shape, then it will, for sure he would be a billionaire or trillionaire. But the key point which is there is that we know the direction where it is moving. We know certain basics, like just now, Saira, she mentioned a very, very key, word, and I really love that. That is agility. The how agile we are to basically see the trend and adjust ourselves, because we don't have time. With technology, I normally say that every one of us, we have now two identities. I am a Pakistani, and I have this geographical boundaries. I am bound by my Pakistani systems of thinking, everything, culture, but then I have a digital identity. So in digital space, I interact with my digital friends. I have my own culture. I have my own access to technology, or access to information, which is totally regardless of where I physically belong. That's why platforms. That's why a lot of new unions and a lot of new groups are being formed. So I think I just share with you a couple of things for us. Huawei. I will just share that we do about 134 and 35 billion-dollar worth of business globally every year, and the biggest chunk of this revenue goes into R&D. So we do about 20-25 billion-dollar yearly, a percentage of our revenue into R&D. So innovation. So in order to, if I want to make sure that I am up there, and I want to feed, technology space or innovation space with value, I need to now have a certain percentage invested into innovation space. The second thing, which when we even work with the workforce, there is a constant need of training. So whether we have leadership, whether we have mid-layer management, or whether we have youngsters, so there is a constant. So I just share with you, there are a lot of strategies we adopt. We have programs. Let's say if there's a new thing came up, like DeepSeek. When DeepSeek was launched, we launched complete DeepSeek understanding, training sessions, and they were pushed down to the teams. And and sometimes it can be very crude. So you introduce a technology and then you examine them. It's not like only that, okay, I'm going to send you a training and you can see it in your leisure time. No. So we will basically go and check that, did you learn this or not? And then even for us to survive, because we meet customers, and the customers expect us that we will bring newer technologies to them. We'll talk about the new trends. So we start to engage ourselves into the case studies, and we start to push people to a certain technological discussions where how they are being adopted. What else can be done. So I think three elements are very important. First, a constant investment into innovation. Constant investment. That's why a lot of organizations, they now call themselves a technical organization or techno organization, rather than even a bank or insurance company. So everyone wants to, because they identify this particular challenge. Second thing is the training in the staff itself. And the third, which I want to just mention, and that's again my personal experience. I see a lot of organizations, they want to do a lot of things ground up. So let's say I give you an example. Even if I want to develop a software, or if I want to go to AI, organization would prefer to do it themselves. So let's hire 5 people and let's try to do it ourselves. I think globally, what I've seen is even Huawei, we don't do like this. So we partner. So if we can find good partners, whether it is in AI space, software, or even management, that will create a lot of agility among the organization and speed. So if we go ground up, the chances of we lose focus as an organization. Every organization must know its own place in the whole ecosystem and that value. We should not do everything. We should partner with everyone to basically create this environment. So I think a couple of these strategies and then right direction. But to be very honest, future is unknown, uncertain, and it's changing every day. And full of opportunities. I totally agree with Saira on this one.
Thank you very much. Yeah, indeed. I mean, future is unknown and uncertain, and that actually gives opportunities as well. So it can be like the previous advantages cannot actually sustain in the future, and that is the opportunity for a lot of organizations which are more agile and more ready for it. Uh, I think, Dr. Suleiman, I think with your background on skilling up people and also like running a very good platform on that. So and how do you see that? Because essentially you are training people on skills which are very, you can say, fluid, and there's like changing shape almost every a couple of years. So how are you looking at it?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. So I have two different kind of hats at LUMS. I'm the director of digital learning at LUMS, which we call LUMSX, but I'm also a professor of computer science as well as a design-driven innovation. And I work very closely with the banking sector as one of the primary areas of interest. So I think I'll sort of repeat a couple of things which have already been said. We are living in a changing world, and I say that also with a little bit of fear. I care about that. There's a lot of opportunity. I care that we need to be very optimistic, but I also am mindful when I say that I'm also a little afraid. Because this change is massive, and this change is very, very different from the change we have seen in the past few decades. It is not a new internet. It is just not a new computer. It is not a tablet. It is not an iPhone era. It is actually an era which can go in a very different direction without knowing where it is going. So I think we need to keep that framework in mind while thinking about how a country needs to respond, how an organization needs to respond, and how we need to respond at individual level. And this is something we'll see in our houses when we talk to our kids. And this is something we'll see in an organization as a chief HR officer when you have so many kids to take care of. Right? So it's a whole journey and whole framework we need to operate at and work with. And there's a problem on daily basis. So I want to sort of set there. So when we deal with this framework where the world is changing and we are preparing students for the jobs we don't even know, how do you prepare for them? So that's one important thing. But then second thing, which I think the word is extremely important here, is both the word, which we discussed also last night, upskilling and reskilling. So one has to think about it both from a horizontal point of view and vertical point of view. Organizations have been built from a vertical growth point of view. They had a whole framework that how do we make sure that you have a promotion and a promotion and a promotion and a promotion, then become a CEO. Without going too wide into the organization, you were still able to go to the top. The problem is that this going too up is just not going to be possible anymore in many, many jobs. And the one which are going to suffer the most are at the middle and the bottom. Right? In that case, what you need to do is you need to have this from a vertical mindset to the horizontal mindset. And when we go from a vertical mindset to horizontal mindset, then what we also talk about this, reskilling. So a person does not know that domain altogether, but have the right skill and the learning mindset to learn that thing. So what you do, you cash on that opportunity and take it to another domain where it can learn. Right? So I think having this idea, finding those nuggets and finding those opportunities systematically in the organization, that which kind of people are ready for reskilling, I think is going to be the fundamental thing to look at. Because the framework tells us who's ready for upskilling, but what it doesn't tell us very often that who is ready for reskilling. So I think that our focus should be, so that's something we really try to focus on, that when we talk to organizations, that we tell look, you might have a very good upskilling framework. Can we work with you and tell you that how the reskilling framework would look like? Can we find those opportunities where we say that you might not know this thing from the scratch, but can we take you forward? So that's my second important point, not important, but a second point on this framework. The third thing, that when you want to scale, when you want to make sure that you have the right framework in place, because the context demands for that and the changing world demands for that, how would you do it? And when we talk about how would you do it, then that's where the problem of quality and scales come in. So when you think about in-person learning, one thing we know that we can have a very good control over quality. We can talk about that somebody's sitting there breathing. I know eyes are closed, eyes are open. The whole idea of teaching and learning is a very different problem. What happened after this COVID, we learned that Zoom can work, but we also learned that Zoom cannot work. So there were many scenarios where online learning was a blessing, but we also know there are many scenarios where online learning was a big disaster. So people had very bad association assigned to this online learning, and they had all these myths that online learning cannot work. So what we're trying to do in our organization systematically is that trying to break those myths and telling that online learning, if designed well, can actually work, because that's the only way you can scale things. So what happens, an organization come to you is that please train our top management, or please train our tier 2 and tier 3 people. The change will not happen when the middle and the bottom is not aware of that. The language is missing. So the top can come in and top can talk, but then when the middle is missing, the communication gap is still there. The problem is that you can't bring 5,000 people from the middle to a place like this and then say, please train them. They'll take the rest of the life. So you need to find more interesting framework and opportunities for quality scaling. And I think that's where online learning at LumZex, which I can talk about later, can come in. And fourthly, I think the way I'm trying to present this framework is that it doesn't really matter how do you train people. And you rightly talked about that we're dealing with a very different generation, be it millennial, be it Gen Z and Alpha. I think the type of work is also going to change, which means that some of us would have kids. We have very little control on them right now. We can tell them how to behave, we can tell them how to do it, but they have a very different way to respond back. So a lot of agility is required in organization, that how the manager of the future would look like. So manager of the future would look like that, how to deal with Gen Z and how to deal with Gen Alpha, so that you can excite them in the beginning, so that you can retune them to the changing needs of the organization. So we should not refuse that we will need to change. The hierarchical culture of an organization would be killed, because the new generation is not going to accept that hierarchy. The way we conduct our meetings is going to change. The way we conduct ourselves is going to change. So I think there's a lot of change which is going to happen in an organization. So it's just not the AI threat. It's not that innovation threat. It's also the threat that the generation which is coming in is a very different generation to work with. So that also has to be changed. So that's how I'll put it, that this is a sort of a more holistic understanding we need to develop when we talk about this workplace innovation and workplace change. That's it aside for now.
That's very important. So I think the last point that you mentioned about, it's more like a personalized learning map, because every individual, depending upon where they are in the ladder and what are their aspirations, can have different attributes to, for example, what they want to learn and what they can be good at. And essentially organizations need to have that type of visibility of, for example, the aptitudes of their people. Which takes me to the regulator side. And I think that is the most important side, because the regulator actually drives the sector. And one of the things which is important is that they have to be conservative to actually make sure that the broader interests are protected, but they have to be not so conservative that it actually constrains innovation from happening. So how that balance is undertaken within the state bank, and also, for example, how State Bank looks at the industry from the workforce perspective in this regard.
Right. So this is one of the most difficult thing because you are absolutely right. The regulators generally have been very conservative, and they don't want to change a lot, and they don't want to take risks. Whereas technology, you have to take risks. So that's one of the challenging part. In State Bank of Pakistan, this is something which was, if you look into the State Bank, the way we have worked, uh, we have been very resilient to adapt things. So if you look at RAS, if you look at our resources, the way we have worked on innovation and sandboxing, and the way we have tried and encouraged to have on a pilot scale and then scale it up. So that is very encouraging, and that's one of the positive side of the regulator, which is more adapting to the technologies. So I think State Bank has been working from the last so many years to make sure that we just don't discourage adopting new technologies, new things, rather than we go with what is required. The other is the mindset. As a regulator and as a banker, they've got a completely different mindset. Um, the way the world is moving now is technology is becoming easier. There was a time in which technology was supposed to be a technical subject, a different subject. But now technology has been made so easy, so user friendly, that you can, as a common person, you can start adapting things, you can start learning things. So that has changed a lot. So now there was a time in which it used to be that the subject matter expert will concentrate on the subject matter expert, and the technical area will concentrate on the technical areas, and then they will combine. But now the thing is this, that you are a subject matter expert, but you should know these tools to make sure you do a better interpretation of those solutions, either using AI technology or using data science technologies or tools, or using forecasting or the later versions of this. So State Bank has been very adoptive, and one of the things I've seen that we have been using these tools in monetary policy formulation, in encouraging our the innovative, the startups to come in and then get settled. And I'm sure this the way RAS is extending, this can be very encouraging for a lot of organizations. So it is not only for commercial banks, it's not only from person to person. Now it is going much more beyond that. So that is going to change. But obviously, as a regulator, as a central bank, we're still conservative. But again, these are the things which we have been adopting. But it's very challenging even after that. So whatever, you talked about upskilling and reskilling. Uh, According to me, you see, reskilling is probably required where you have some positions which have gone vacant. Just like, there used to be a lot of cash counters earlier. Now you don't need cash counters. So there are two options: either you fire them or to utilize them or reskill them in some other areas. Similar case with so many other things which has evolved and which has changed after the technology has taken place. But according to me, upskilling is something which is required on a continuous basis. So even I think Bilal mentioned about continuous investment, which is required. But if you don't reskill yourself, I think you will be dinosaur very soon, or you'll be out of the market. So you have to reskill, and that's the need of the time. And obviously, with the change of generations, that is what the new generations have adopted. That they are changing very rapidly. They don't work on the old stigmas we normally work with. So I'm sure that this mix will evolve and change. So that's the same thing with State Bank of Pakistan.
Absolutely. So I think so we'll just have like one more round of there, couple of threads that I would want to cover, and then we'll open the floor for question and answers. But one thing which is clearly evident is that so learning, upskilling, reskilling, agility, so all of these things are very important, but they're very intangible. So they are very cultural to the organization, and so is innovation. And and the challenge with organizations is that, for example, not every function within the organization needs to be equally innovative. And which actually means that we need to have different flavors of culture within the organization to operate. So there are certain functions which can be ahead of the curve in terms of innovation and their capability to learn and do new things. And they have the flexibility, and maybe there are certain other areas which are they need to be process oriented a lot. So how, for example, and that is a question to like all of you. So how, for example, organizations should manage it, and how this like challenge of culture is like focused or like considered by the organizations considering this disruptive age.
Well, thank you, Anil. I think when we define culture, culture is basically uh, the foundation stone of any organization. Don't take me as an HR person, so I'm, prophesizing that the culture means a lot to me. But as an employee or as a professional worker, also my perspective would remain same. So now, what we did was that we adopted this as our vision or our mission statement 7 years back to do cultural transformation. In that cultural transformation, digital literacy upskilling was also there. At a basic level, I agree that when you said that there are going to be certain functions which would be ahead of uh, the learning curve on digital acumen and or innovation, then there are going to be some, for example, general services or admin function which exist in every organization. They don't need to be that much digitally literate or uh, technology tech savvy, but a basic level of understanding must prevail in the organization, that the organization is, everybody is on board, that the organization is moving towards this direction, and the technology challenges which we are going to face, how we are going to address those. So, in my opinion, when we talk about culture, culture means the overall outlook of the organization and the basic understanding of majority of its employee workforce on a similar level. And then only the organization can take the challenges on the outside, may that be disruption or whatever. I agree with Riyasa when I fully acknowledge that banking is a heavily regulated industry. There is no doubt about it. And with the global phenomena which we face every day of AML, anti-money laundering, and CFT, and combating financial terrorism, and especially in this part of the world where we are geographically located, it means a lot of significance. More regulations, more compliance. We all need to do it. But at the same time, I must appreciate the role of our central bank, that it has been quite open in the last 5 to 7 years in my interactions with the Central Bank of Pakistan. I found them to be very receptive to new digital technologies, adoption, implementation, and interaction with the commercial banks. Whenever we have required support from central bank, we have had. And I think this makes a lot of difference because central bank's role is a very critical and significant role, overseeing the banking regulations as well as banking operations of all the banks in the country. One more thing, learning is a continuous process. In my opinion, learning never stops, and definitely employee engagement and bringing the employee workforce to that basic level of understanding why we are doing it, how we are going to do it, and how we are going to achieve it as one common objective or unified goal. That would make the difference for the organization.
So cultural transformation is generally considered to be in, it happens in decades because it's a generation change where you actually try and instill things. Organization having a different culture, obviously, it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen. And even if you force something, then it doesn't change the culture. You temporarily adopt those things. But again, whenever you get an opportunity, you go back to the old things. But you are absolutely right. Cultural transformation is very important in the present days. Either you talk about uh, technology adaptation, or we talk about climate changes, which is happening, and how you can make your organization more climate friendly. Now, these are adaptations which require a lot of capacity building interventions, a lot of focus from the top management going to the bottom and work on it. So, it's very important that when we conduct our training need assessments, we actually look into the areas where we want to do a cultural transformation, and then that has to be focused a lot. Because if we focus in our TAs the cultural transformations which are required, I'm sure the organization can make those decades much more faster, and it can be months and years in which they can achieve those objectives, which is very important and core in the present time.
Okay, I can go. So the way I look at it, and then something which I have been doing at the places where I've worked, and also at LUMS as a part of our training framework. I don't know if this is academically right, but that's how I feel about it. So there are values, and there is a culture. So I think on values, you can agree on organization-wide thing. So for example, one example which always come to my mind, that Google had this great value: don't do harm, or make no harm, right? So which means essentially that you can't use AI for making weapons, which they just withdrew, right, a few weeks ago. So that's a value. That's a value you have, that I will not be a harmful organization. But then what happens in the same organization, you can create those cultural silos. And there's not a negative sense cultural silo, in a sense that you have this place where innovation needs to happen. And that's only 15% of your organization where the innovation work would happen. That cannot operate as a branch would exist in a bank, or as head office would exist in a branch. So there's a lot of this culture of making innovation labs. Every bank is trying to make an innovation lab, innovation lab, innovation. But the idea is that innovation lab can only be an innovation lab when the right cultural framework is installed in innovation lab. Otherwise, that's not an innovation lab. That's just a nice space with beautiful sofas and green color and white color and red color. That's just that. So I think we have to rethink about that. Culture transformation is very, very important, and only then that will excite the change in the environment. So and then second thing is that very often when we talk about this, and then we talk about that 15% of our organization would work in this way, 20% would work in this way, and rest of the 50% would work in a very, very different way. So that's one way of thinking about it. One example we always like to give in our classes, also the DBS example, Singapore example. So that's a very interesting example where one cultural shift, that the technology and the design would always speak to each other. Right? There will not be two teams of technology and design. There'll be one person, and then one person reporting to those, supervising those verticals. Just one shift in an organization culture can have a huge impact on the way you try to problem solve. How the service and the business would talk to each other in the banking sector. We brought business to you, and then this is I'm done. This is now your responsibility, and you don't have one team culture. And then I learned a lot from ABL, the way they emphasize also on ABL, one team culture, and some friends from ABL also sitting there. So I've seen that how they try to sort of bring that in. And finally, my point is that digital transformation is largely a cultural transformation. So you can bring AI, and you can bring technology, and you can bring all the software and everything else, but what would happen if the culture is not ready to accept? And that's something we see in the government all the time. No amount of softwarefying is going to change the government if the people are not willing to bring the change in themselves. So I think that's another very important, because I think we need to look at it in a sort of more connected way.
Yeah, so from your side, and then I would also want you to ask one more thing to take that forward. So one on the culture side, and the other is you mentioned about collaboration. So how to build collaborations? What are the opportunities for the banking sector with the other like peripheral setups?
So I think for me, when I've been associated with Huawei. Before this, I was part of Motorola as well, and I see these multinationals. They spend so much effort and time value on this culture part. So just sharing with you, at Huawei, they put down their culture or value system. I think in 1998, somewhere there, and till today, there's a considerable effort, and we strongly believe that the reason why Huawei is because of its culture and the core. So much so that, at one point I used to say that the organization should have a chief culture officer, you know, because the culture, just like I think Saira was mentioning and Salman also mentioned this thing, that this becomes the building block. And I want to highlight one thing that sometimes it's a very good thing that you have a culture and you that's a driving force, but it also slows you down as well. So first, I think when we talk about cultural transformation, the more important thing is that how culture is interacting with the organizations outside. So I can't have a culture of my organization and close my eyes at what's happening around the world. So it has to be very, moving. So I have to go back to the people. I have to even go to probably the guard or the T-boy in the organization and make sure that he also understands the core values of why this organization exists and what am I going to do to and what is the value proposition for this organization in Pakistan or as a matter of fact in a greater terms. So I think I totally think that this is a very very neglected area generally, and I think if you don't do transformation for culture and you don't spend enough effort in this to keep it moving, so you cannot be able, you are not able to actually get a lot of value out of your people or your process. So your people and process only the effectivity comes if you have a very progressive culture. So I think this is the first thing, and the second thing which Ali mentioned about partnership, and I am very strong believer of this. I believe so. Just sharing with you that at Huawei we do a certain amount of business in Pakistan, and about 60% of that business is outsourced. Even in certain cases, we even went to 70-80% of the business outsourced. So the key point is the value, uh, as we understand, it's not about and we know we share those stats sometimes that WhatsApp is a $1 billion company, multi-billion dollar company, but the employees number of employees are very less. So one of the big challenges that we have this tendency that okay, let me do everything myself. If I want to do software, I will do software myself. Let me hire 6 engineers or 7 software developers. Let me do it. I see, especially in Pakistan, a lot of organizations, they want to do AI, they will hire AI people. That's exactly totally opposite to how we should approach this problem. We should basically partner with some of these AI companies or even software companies and help them so they can develop. So this industry and multi-industry collaboration where we can basically link with them. So the two disadvantage which happens. So I know many organizations in Pakistan. So they lose their focus and they start developing uh, things or doing things which they should not be doing. And second thing is that whatever they do, that's not world class. Let's focus on their particular organization. So the learning from other organizations is also limited. So when we collaborate, so we are out there in the industry. So I just shared with you. So we are number one in Pakistan, in terms of our services in technology and even in the region. And 70-80% of our work is completely outsourced. So we have a lot of partners. There are companies who has only one customer, that is Huawei. And I know them for the last 10-15 years. So they only serve work with Huawei. So they exist, we exist, we exist, they exist. And that's how the relationship should be. That's how the whole value chain, supply chain should be built on. It cannot be that everything can be done by one company.
Wonderful, which actually, so now we open the floor to questions, but there is one thought that I would leave to you. So for example, if there is one person or function within the organization who should have like the chief culture officer title, who should that be? So open to questions and yeah, please. Uh,
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Nadir Sharif. I just have a question to Mr. Ahmed Bilal. As you said, we are collaborating and we are investing in Pakistan and we have a lot of opportunities here in Pakistan. My question is this, do you think there is a major gap missing in Pakistan, that is large scale data network center? And why a lot of major companies which are investing in Pakistan are not thinking about this? And large data network, which will it will boost our economy and growth as well.
So, sorry, I didn't get your name, sir.
Nagesh Ali.
Nazish Ali, sir. So first, I think there is a considerable interest for the data centers in Pakistan, and we are very, very aggressively working. And I see you will see more data centers coming up, and there are already a lot of data centers deployed by certain very large scale organization. You know, I can name few of them. PTCL is there, Jazz Garage is there. Then there is government has a lot of data centers, and a lot of cloud services coming up. We basically partnered with one of our partner, and we launched a fintech cloud last year as well. So, but yes, there is a huge gap in this one. So I think there are multiple reasons due to which it's slowed down. I think there is a huge opportunity, and there is a need for accelerating this, and that's why I see a lot of interest coming, and even the government is trying to put down, national data centers for that matter. So just sharing very openly that the basic core raw material for a data center is electricity. So electricity charge became a very tough challenge, I would say, for the industry. So it becomes a bit of challenge to put down a data center having the expensive data electricity. So I think now the government is also supporting. So I just share with you that about 2 years back, we started working with the government, and government came up with a policy called cloud first. So even the government is pushing that let's put the cloud first, and then there are a lot of policies of keeping the databases in Pakistan. So not let personal databases go out, but because of the lack of a lot of digital data center infrastructure, it is still going up. So I think in a year, 2 years time, this thing will totally change. So there's a considerable effort going on, and there are huge challenges as well. So normally I call it, in a digital space, a digital world, the fiber is like a roads, and the data center is like cities. So we need more cities, digital cities.
Assalamualaikum ji. My name is Bakar Ahmed. I'm with ZTBL right now. Being a CHRO, I've seen the journey of state banks recently from 21. I think HRIS was one of the first things that State Bank allowed to be placed on cloud. And we were lucky enough in December 21, we were actually having our database HRIS system on the cloud. And today or recently, we have seen a digital bank coming out. But my question again, at that time, the position was that it should be placed in Pakistan or where it should be placed. And secondly, when there's a digital bank out there, which has, I think, one of the investors who has over 1.6 billion customers worldwide, how would the central bank regulate if once things go out? Because then there are certain areas, geopolitical areas, where we would not like our databases to be kept. So my question would be, how would then the regulator react to those?
So you see, this is one of the challenge for us also, because you see, we are not trying to discourage the technology, but from regulation perspective, from privacy perspective, from security perspective, we have to make sure that our consumers are protected and we cover the regulations. So this is an area where the State Bank is also working, and we are working with the digital bank to create, and the way nowadays cloud structures are and the data centers have worked out, you can get a lot of security protocols also. So I think it's a matter of defining those protocols, working with those organizations. So this is what we are doing it on a pilot basis, and then obviously we'll formalize a policy in this regard. But this is obviously an area where we are working with the industry, and it is required. So it's not something, and obviously once it's done, then it will be applicable for everything. But for digital bank, this is one of the most important priority as well. But we need to understand that, for us, consumer data, their privacy is also core and critical and important for us. So we need to make sure that whatever protocols we are defining, that will cover them, take care of this. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Naveed Asghar. I just wanted to, I have two questions. One is related to the ethics and rule of law. Maybe in my view, that is completely missing. Maybe if you want to compare Pakistan versus maybe Singapore, I think that is the element which is missing. And the second one is you talk about the multinational culture. Maybe in the last 3-4 years, I saw that a lot of multinational companies left Pakistan. Maybe if you want to see, maybe Shell, Pakistan Burma Shell, which was incorporated before the birth of Pakistan, and now they moved out, and they were the one who basically invested a lot on the HR, and basically they provided maybe in the oil and gas sector, which will be missing because these companies will not be around who can invest on the HR. And secondly, the multinational banks basically maybe when I started my banking career back in 2000, there were around more than 16 or 18 foreign banks, and you hardly see any foreign banks around. And they provided the HR to the entire banking sector. Maybe these are two questions from my side.
One, but I would also like to ask that why do we compare Pakistan with Singapore?
I think I want to just mention one. I think I will let Ma'am Saira to explain certain elements, but we are handling regarding first the ethics part and the rule of law, those things. So at Huawei, again coming back, so we are number one globally in the ICT domain. So when I say ICT domain, this is the IT and communication. So we do about 130 billion dollar worth of business globally. And I want to highlight to you two points. Number one, that number one nationality in Huawei is Chinese. So of course, because this is an organization which was brought up from China and of course globally serving. Number two nationality globally is Pakistani. So Pakistan is the largest force in this tech space who is part of the Huawei. So, and the second thing is that we are running a global resource center, which I was just sharing this early morning with Dr. Sulman as well, that from here, that we are basically trying to serve all of Africa, all of Asia. And I normally correct that it's not that why we have this a success center. It's not because it is cheap. It is because the resource quality is much better. So when I say resource quality, so we don't look at only technical knowledge. We look at technical knowledge, his behavior, response to the customer, ethics, everything as a package. I think personally, I strongly believe, and I think as a nation, as soon as it's going to be a little, harsh, but if we are on GT road, we act totally different way. But as soon as we start to drive on motorway, we're different. We come on our airport, we are different. But the same Pakistani we are when we land any airport, we're different. I think it's about how we place our people. But I have found my experiences. I found Pakistanis extremely excellent workforce. They are very, I would say, very promising and very, and that's why I think one of the reasons why, yes, we can see a lot of multinationals, they went out of Pakistan because we lost a lot of business. So having a multinational Pakistan and having a workforce is sort of different things. So if a multinational is Pakistan, this means they're here for the business in Pakistan. So we see, yes, because of a lot of challenges, a lot of them left. But a lot of them, they put their back offices in Pakistan. So there is still a lot of, I would say juice in the youth, in the people here. So, we see that, yes, you're right, that a lot of multinationals left, but they were basically serving the local market. But now we see a lot of $3 billion and so many figures coming up that we have back offices of different multinationals in Pakistan, even software houses, BPOs, they're now popping up. So that basically shows that, yes, the workforce is still very promising. So this is from my side. I think thinking.
Multinationals left Pakistan, yes. Again, for me, where I work with 21,000 employees, I'm CHRO of a bank where there are 21,000 employees. And if you take 3 to 4 persons per employee unit, uh, you know, it becomes, imagine the amount of people who are getting benefit out of this organization. So capacity building, HR was provided by multinationals, I disagree. HR was never provided by multinationals. We are very much here. We develop our peoples. As I said, uh, I'm very proud of the fact that banking industry is the most robust industry in Pakistan. Even during the COVID days, no other industry contributed to the economy the way banking industry did. I was concerned about my employees and all the banking employees going out of their houses, opening the branches every day, where all other employees were of other industries were home grounded. We never did. All the banks, we operated because it was the backbone of the economy. So I have full faith in Pakistani workforce. I have full faith that we can do wonders. I don't need any type of multinational to support Pakistani workforce. I interview around 2,000 persons every year. This is a average interview figure for me for various positions, for MTO batches. We are the largest employer in Pakistan in terms of offering youth employment to 600 plus youth in Pakistan every year. So I have full faith in Pakistani nation. We don't need multinationals to develop us for capacity building. Yes, getting cross-cultural exposures is very good. Interacting with, like the people I have interacted today, coming from various countries is very good. It is a learning curve enhancement for me personally and for all of us when we come across. But as my colleague said over here, Bilal said, we have full faith in our workforce. And I find them very hardworking, very integral, very honest, very dedicated, professional workforce who has a clear vision where they want to go. Thank you very much.
Just want to highlight one more point on this side. So basically there are global shifts which are coming up, and one of the shifts is that from globalization, it is moving towards regionalization. And therefore, this region getting more integrated becomes all the more important because that is happening. We saw EU getting together at one point in time, still like a very integrated region. We saw North American region integrating economically. So there is a lot of now move towards regionalization, and that is particularly post-COVID when there were trade routes which were not able to sustain, and a lot of industries had a lot of impact because of that. There is a lot of move towards this. So I think on the HR side, there are lots of capabilities here, but there is also a move uh, towards more regionalization, and that is what we are looking to discuss here as well. So how to collaborate with the with the other countries on the financial sector scale. I think there were.
Yeah, you can hear. My name is. Can you hear? Yeah, my name is Sayed Farhan. I'd been into HR and learning and development for over 25 years in Pakistan and abroad, and I'm a preacher of digital learning. So my question comes to Dr. Sulaiman or Saira. Uh, Over these years, is that digital learning in the global market had been there for 2 decades, right? Let's say COVID onwards, it's 5 years now, right? What went wrong, right? That digital adaptation in our country could not be picked up, right? I would like to learn from you. Is there one case from the financial sector, right, where digital learning was adopted, right? And if it was not, right, why not, right? And as Dr. Saab said, the content, right? Uh, if we have realized in this country that no book has been written here, the content always for all engineering and every subject had been from abroad, right? Why did we stop the global learning content, which was very reasonably and very economically available, right? Why was it stopped by initially State Bank, right, or the regulator, right? And even today, no bank has really adopted the digital learning content as a minimum benchmark global practices has done. So what went wrong, sir? So I would have two answers, one from the academy part, because I've been into academy as well, and from on CHRO, what went wrong? Thank you, sir.
सायरा जरूर बताएंगी कि इतने बुरे हालात नहीं है कि किसी बैंक ने डिजिटल लर्निंग अडॉप्ट नहीं किया। उनके पास बहुत डेटा है और मुझे इनके बैंक का पता है, इसलिए मुझे पता है कि बहुत अच्छा बोल सकती हैं, तो आई विल नॉट टेक दैट पार्ट। मैं 2-3 चीजें हैं, ये कहना निस्बतन आसान है कि दुनिया के अंदर sorry, I completely forgot. Sorry. Thank you. It is very easy to say that to bring international content to Pakistan would change a lot of things, and there is already international benchmarking. And then I give you one example. We designed this data science certificate right now, which we're now translating for the banking sector, insurance sector, and FMCGs. We have benchmarked about 10 to 15 courses on Coursera, which talk about from IBM to Google, which talk about data science introduction. The way the courses have been designed, their starting point is very different from the starting point our students and workforce need. So there's a huge gap between the starting point of those courses and starting point which we need to offer to our. And then second thing is the language is a barrier. So a lot of this content is in English, where English should not be the only way to teach. So for example, our data science course is bilingual. So where the English is there to support, but it's not the barrier. It is not that if you can't speak, you can't be great data scientist. And we have lots of great universities which are producing very good computer scientists and the staff, but they can't speak very good English, and that's perfectly fine. They can do their job very well. They can be great engineers. So that's another barrier which can be reduced by these organizations. So these courses. So I think we need to reconfigure and we need to rethink about it, how to bring that content into the Pakistani market in a more systematic way so that this is a good fit for the organization. Right now, we're talking about how to make that content fit one person. Forget the organization and forget the department, everything else. So this personalized learning has to be rethought. And this is not that we convert an offline in-person learning into an online learning. So what went wrong with Zoom is that you took your same slides, you took your same pedagogy, you took your same everything, and you said, let's teach online. It is just not going to work. It's a learning experience designed for a very different mode. You have to rethink about it. You have to unpack everything and repack everything and reassemble so that you can offer a great learning experience. You just can't take an in-person course and say that we're going to teach online. So I think that mindset shift is absolutely important. And thousands of people are taking our courses. It's not that people are not taking our courses. They are. So I have a big faith, and I am not as a director. If I'm not a director of digital learning at LUMS, I still feel that the education sector in Pakistan would benefit a lot from digital learning, because that's the only way, in my humble opinion, to scale the efforts. And I think I'll let Saira speak, because I think she can talk about how banking sector is actually responding to this. There's so many interesting courses on those topics.
So, in my opinion, I'll just share with you my personal experience lately. So we wanted to, it was HR's thought process that we wanted to train 50 to 100 mid-tier people who are going to be leaders in various functions. And we wanted to train them on data sciences and artificial intelligence, and with not Coursera we had deployed 5 years back. Coursera we had checked out, and as he said, the relevance in some areas is not there for us. So we thought that we'll pick sharp minds from across various functions, not only those functions which are directly related to digital acumen. We will train them, we'll make a batch, and then we'll put them back in agile teams and see what is the result. I'm very thankful to God that where I am working, I am, enabled to do new things. So this was my idea. I checked all the good universities. Nobody is offering any certification in data sciences. Then I went to LUMS, being the premier school in Lahore. I went to them and I told them, I said, I develop a course where I want to send them to your university for 6 months or 3 months. Then they come back and then they do under the mentorship thing, they do their jobs and deploy that knowledge, some of it. Then you give them assignment, that sort of interaction. And the bank is going to fully sponsor it. So we'll take them off from their work positions also. And we want to experiment that what we get out of it in the end. Still, it's in working, but it's not working. Why? Because abhi tak to date, I have not been able to formalize it. Because my concern was that when an employee is putting so much effort, whosoever the individual is, he or she, at the end of 1 year or 2 years, he must get a degree because he has put up so much effort. From the employee's perspective, I wanted that. But then there are certain hindrances of HEC and lumps. They are not allowing a degree to be given in this context. Then I said some sort of certification has to be achieved. So still, we are evolving. We are evolving. But trust me, I'm very hopeful about the bright future on digital. And I've seen we have an innovation lab also at our bank. We have done a lot of efforts and taken many steps towards long-term vision of digitally equipped organization or bank to take place where everybody is aligned. We have certain hopes. We are moving towards it, but there are small steps which need to be taken to achieve a final goal.
And just to add one small thing, if you allow, 95% of our internal training is all through digital means. And we do this. We have exams, and I trust me. Even the CEO, the board, everyone. So we have two type of courses. First, certain which our HR and the business leaders, they will make sure that certain trainings which must be done, and they must be passed. So and some of these trainings, the passing score is 100% or 98%, and if you don't pass, the HR publishes it in the email, so everyone knows about it. So it's very embarrassing. No, same. So same. So for all Pakistanis, the same. Yeah. Same.
Yes, so I want to ask the design thinking, especially when we are faced with a technological innovation. I think it's more important for seniors, senior management, and the board to think in terms of how things can be done differently. So, what do you think the role of design thinking in overall strategic capacity building of an organization?
Dr. Sulemania.
Gigi, I can. So I think one of the skills, if you look at a recent survey and also the data from the World Economic Forum, one of the skill which was in top 10, which is critical thinking through design thinking. So how would you be able to get a new lens to solve systematic problems? And now this has become a very active conversation in the banking sector, because my primary area of consultancy and work with the banking sector is on this driven innovation and consultancy for bringing this change. And banks are very receptive now, and actually there's no option left. For example, ABL has done this big change program through design thinking, which is really very nice. That you have to have this design-driven mindset in the organization through which you can bring that change. So I'm very confident, but also I'm very pleased that some of the banking apps have improved a lot in the last couple of years. If you look at the experience, because now all the innovation labs have UX people in the organization, they have design strategy people in the organization. They work with external consultants to bring that change. So I think that, and globally also, there's a big shift in the fintech sector because AI would bring this change, and we need to be very mindful for that change. And that mindfulness can only come if we're very customer centric, if we're very user centric, we're very human centric. So I think this will become even more important in coming days, where technology would marry with design thinking, design driven innovation, so that this change is just not abrupt, but rather more mindful, keeping in all stakeholders in mind. So it's a sort of more stakeholder driven change. And a lot of banks are actually happily working on it.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Saeed Ahmed. I'm from ZTBL. I come from background of HR and IT. So I have two quick questions. First from Ms. Saira. In the very introduction speech of by Deputy Governor Salimullah, he mentioned about the attrition issue being faced in the State Bank as well. So what kind of policy ABL does have for to retain its employees in terms of employee engagement, employee empowerment? Because from I come from the ZTBL organization, which may have to face a many challenges while to retain an employee who is about to quit the job. And other questions from Mr. Riasa. Riasa, in terms of the capacity building and to face the challenges, I have seen like there are a few projects which as State Bank has have engaged any external consultant for the to conceive, to design, to deploy and implement any project, just like RAS. But in certain projects where frameworks are involved, and even Pakistani consultant, they have very less experience for designing new framework for a few methodology or strategy, for instance, IFRS 9. So I think in order to reduce the cost and to make it more economical effective and to ease and to facilitate all the banking sector across Pakistan, I think state regulator should also intervene to engage a consultant who can devise framework which should be beneficial across all the banking industry. It may have to vary from organization to organization because some banks, commercial banks they are huge, and some banks they have less infra. So I think in terms of to cut down the cost and to address the issue of capacity building and to make it easier deployment, I think it will be very helpful for any kind of new project in Pakistani industry as well.
Ravi, coming to the second question. See, we normally collaborate with various partners based on their specialities internationally and locally as well. And in a lot of cases, we actually collaborate with regional partners also to make sure that these frameworks which have been developed are of quality and of repute, whatever frameworks related to anything. Now, with regard to capacity building of the banks, now that's an area where we are trying to focus. National Institute of Banking and Finance, recently has merged with the Institute of Bankers Pakistan, and that is one of the vision. The vision is actually that we try and work together with the industry. So you see, Institute of Bankers Pakistan was earlier only taking care of the commercial banking side of it, and National Institute of Banking and Finance was mainly focusing towards the central banking. But this is an area where we are now focusing towards with various, again, collaborating with local partners as well as with international partners in various areas so that, we can work with industry and work with them so that the implementations can be much more focused, especially for the financial sector. So like with one of the academic institutions, and that's why we collaborate with Huawei, we collaborate with various academic institutions, and we are willing to collaborate with anybody, all types of partners. The objective is basically to bring something which is more focused towards the industry need and requirement, because the local needs are completely different. So like with one of the institutions, we are trying to work with them, a course mainly focusing towards the use of the data sciences tools in various sectors of banking. Now, so, we are just concentrating a little bit about tools a couple of weeks, but then we are talking about, the use of these tools in, let's say, compliance, in treasury, TBML, in treasury, in audit. So, see, a lot of things can be done, and we are now targeting the junior to middle management of bankers who will be the star performers or who will be the future leaders of those banks. So we do work with various, but I think it's a, the collaboration has just started. So it's going to take some time to establish and work out. But if you look at our strategies, the way we've been working, there are a lot which will come in due course. But you see, merger and amalgamations are not that easy. And there's still HR transformation which is taking place, will soon be concluded. So I'm sure that we will kickstart on our actual strategy, what we are supposed to do very soon. But we are still working on a lot of areas for your information.
Just to add one point on, I think, capacity building and these things which are capacity augmentation between the different institutions. So we need to see a bit non-traditional as well. So for example, Karandas trained 10,000 plus SMEs. And similarly, for example, there are internationally, so there are institutions who are partnering with universities to set up their own curriculums. So we need to think a lot non-traditional in order to build capabilities and capacities and to augment.
State Bank has taken on board a consultant from Karachi. I won't name them, but for new project like IFRS 9, which are banks like, huge banks, they are also facing difficulty how they are going to implement IFRS 9. So it's not doing capacity building, it's also institutional capacity building. If you hire any auditing firm, like for us, you hired Tavanza or Vatin. So why don't you, for multi-billion project, you hire one consultant, one vendor, and they can, and the money can be distributed among all the 200 banks or X number of banks. So now, and it will also help to reduce the implementation time frame, and it will be cost effective, and there will also be uniformity across the implementation of the standards across the banking industry.
I think that point was understood. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, the point is noted. Just to talk about IFRS, we actually have within the audit firms. Yeah, but this is something where we have been working with the audit firms to build up. We already have capacity in Pakistan and different the credit models and the lending models for which the expected credit loss is being worked out now locally. And this is quite matured now in Pakistan. A lot of capacity building is being going on and training sessions are being worked out. So, but your point is valid.
आपका जो पहला, the first question you had for strategies on attrition. In my opinion, there cannot be one single strategy which would be effective to stop this attrition. Attritions are natural. There are trends. There are different phases. For example, post-COVID gave us this phenomena where IT people can sit from the comfort of their bedrooms and deliver projects. So more and more IT professionals are being hired on that format. And eventually they don't like coming to the work. place, especially in conservative banking environments, from 9 to 6 jobs. So this is a phenomena which we had to face. We took a number of strategies and I can give you examples of ad hoc payments, reward system being parameterized on quarterly basis. I can give you examples on that. Countless examples what we did. But in my opinion, the first and foremost thing which keeps an employee glued to an organization or remain is the meaningful job she does, and the respect and mutually beneficial environment the management creates, which enables them to deliver. In my opinion, money is definitely important, reward system is important, compensation is important, but I think the primary factors are when we feel good in going to our workstations and we feel connected to the overall cause of the organization. I might seem very idealistic, but that is my viewpoint. And on around those grounds, I work. Thank you.
Hello. Perhaps she can ask first. No, no. This is Ahmed Mansoor. Uh, my question was related to which Sarah just briefly touched upon. SAARC region is one of the largest provider of workforce for digital disruptions or technology evolution, which is coming across the globe. But here, workforce, that technology workforce is moving, preferring freelancing rather than sticking to the organizations, large organizations. So this trend, because this is a change of Generation Z, preferences have changed, and those uh, developed economies are getting benefit of this change, but somehow our organizations are still like to have, glued. We want glued employees who want to stick to the organizations. Perhaps can't we work on some strategies where uh, workforce is project dependent or flexible workforces? Can't we experiment with that when Western world and developed economies are doing that, and we have the input resources here? So, what are the hindrances, and how can these be removed? This is my question.
I think maybe, for example, one point is from the regulator perspective as well, because there are certain restrictions as well on outsourcing certain. But the other thing is that the future of the definition of workforce is also changing.
I think we talked about the restrictions on regulator.
So any point that you would want to add, anyone?
I think there are, if you look back from HR's perspective, during different eras, there were different challenges. And this challenge has come up post-COVID. I think from agility point of view, we can work on forming certain teams and project-based teams. But again, having said that, banking requires continuous sort of time and investment and learning, which is difficult in certain functions. It is difficult to form project-based teams and then freelancing or that sort of thing. In some areas we can, in some functions we cannot. This is the answer as of now. Thank you.
But nevertheless, you need to learn how to work with this, because some of your partners or some of the function will be like this. So how you work with them is the
For example, I know telcos have made it after post-COVID, they have made it norm that there is going to be 4 days a week work environment. 1 day is work from home. All the telcos in Pakistan, they have adopted it. We haven't adopted it as yet, the banking sector.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Zara Iqbal and I'm representing here Park China Investment Company. My question is from Ms. Saira Shahid. You have mentioned that you see AI as an opportunity. In the era of AI, what about developing countries like Pakistan? Are we actually able to build the capacity of our employer that can match the efficiency of AI? There consists a resource gap, skills gap. There consists a resource constraint. What about the opportunities we have in Pakistan? What are the platforms we have in Pakistan? Because the people like me who belong to Generation Z, are these trainings are enough? Uh, because right now I have seen that mostly companies, uh, they are just sending their employees to on the training to get to know how can you use AI. Just getting to know that how you can use the AI. Are we actually able to match the efficiency of AI? Because I don't see any opportunities or platform Pakistani market right now who can cope up with the Generation Z.
Thank you for waiting patiently, and finally, I'm glad you could put up that question. So what I meant was that AI offers an opportunity because AI is here. We can't do much about it. We have to accept it. We have to learn to cope with it. It's a digital disruption, and for a person like me, leading or working in the age of disruption offers a lot of opportunities. When AI would be, with every new technology evolution, it takes some times to sink in. For example, when IT revolution came, when we shifted from mainframe computers to laptops, there is a complete transitional journey which took place. So this journey would also evolve. And once it evolves, I understand from where you are coming. Satisfying Gen Z, as we all already said, is very difficult. And I respect your anxiousness towards learning. But trust me, once this this new technology evolves and it comes into play, smart minds like you would definitely find your connections to excel in it. I'm positive about it. And when I said opportunities with AI, efficiencies would increase. Last night we were discussing, and I gathered this point from my colleagues. So it was very eye-opening for me. With AI, people would have more time. When people would have more time, efficiencies would increase. Then that time needs to be deployed in some constructive way. So that is the circle we are going to take, inshallah. And one thing more, this region is since we are talking about regional collaborations, this region consists of 2 billion people. And we are offering, a lot of good things to the West and other countries. So regional collaboration, SAARC, forums like SAARC and collaborations is the key to mutual, acceleration of technology in these regions. So I look forward to more collaborations. I hope that we learn a lot of new collaborative platforms where SAARC countries and professionals from SAARC in various functions can come together and work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we have like time for one last question. You can please go ahead and, okay, two last questions. Okay, so we can have one. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Hassan and I've recently migrated to Pakistan and started my first job. So I have a question for Ms. Sarah and Salman. Uh, so, uh, so the reality in Pakistan is that mostly the technical people are leaving Pakistan. This is my experience, like 6 months experience. So from the HR side, what can you do so that you retain people in Pakistan? And the second question is for Mr. Salman. How can we increase the talent pool in Pakistan? I want to hire people, but I'm not able to find any, not, I won't say any, but less talented people in Islamabad, Rawalpindi, Lahore. Mostly people are in Karachi. So the banks are like, oh, hire in Karachi. So, but I want to hire here as well, in Lahore, Karachi, Faisalabad, Multan. But there's very small talent. So
For your first question, I think we have held a lot of discussion that employee engagement, purposeful job, clarity of vision and goals of the organization, alignment of individual employees' goals to, I can go countlessly and tell you what we should do in an ideal situation. Now, it depends upon organization to organization which strategies they deploy to retain their employees. IT people's attrition from Pakistan, yes, it has been a challenge for the last 2 years, but I think this would stop now because please excuse me if I'm quoting this very openly. The situation in the West is not very welcoming to the immigrants, neither in America's north nor in North America's anymore, isn't it? The world is changing and very abruptly. So it's a dynamic situation. And I think immigration is not that easy now, will not be that easy in the coming years. Your second question was hiring future talent. I think we do in our organization, we have a psychometric department run by professional psychologists. What I look for in an employee interview is the right psychological fit to my cultural fit, enabling them to learn on the technologies and banking terminologies and banking functions remains HR's primary job. But the main thing which I look in a person in an interview or for my organization, I've been working in this organization for 15 years. Prior to that, 7, 8, 10 years in other organizations too. Collectively throughout, what I've been looking for is the right cultural fit. So your culture, if the person is adaptable and can adopt your culture and be a cultural fit, you can improve his or her competency framework. This is my opinion. And in remote areas like I won't say remote areas, they are big cities, Multan, Lahore, Faisalabad. You have to target the right universities if you are looking for fresh grads, which are the good universities. You would find the talent. There is unlimited talent in Pakistan. There is no dearth of talent in Pakistan. I can vouch for it. It's just that you have to find the right ways to reach them, attract them, retain them. And for this is a continuous process.
30 seconds answer.
Should I say or?
Yeah.
Okay, so 30 seconds. Okay, so I think it's a very interesting phenomena that the students are saying that we are unable to find jobs, and you're saying that there are no jobs to give to those students, or you are unable to find students actually. So I think it's an interesting paradox. So I think that's I completely agree that actually what we have to do, we have to leave KLI and find ways. So once an organization is changed that it can work in a flexible way, I think the organization can find many opportunities. It's just that we are unable to offer that flexibility, and we are restricted ourselves that somebody has to come from 9 to 5 in this position in this way, and then people are just not willing, and you'll not be able to find people. We have hired people remotely; they're doing a great job. So I think if you open up yourself, if you change yourself, you have a huge talent pool at your disposal. It's just that we restricted ourselves to KLI, and I think that's a problem because KLI was leaving Pakistan, they're not more able to leave Pakistan also. So I think we'll have lots of interesting things happening in this country, but for good, inshallah. So I think we need to be flexible.
And then we can wrap up.
My name is Faraz Khan Jadoon. I'm in the legal department of Central Bank, State Bank of Pakistan. My question is that given the absence of data protection laws in Pakistan, do our organization, tech stakeholders have made enough efforts to protect the data security, data protection, while integrating artificial intelligence and emerging technologies into the systems?
Would you want to take this? Yeah.
So for us, this is very critical because we work globally with every country. We work within a country. We work with different organizations. They come from whether it's telco, banks. So we have a very set of systems, procedure, whereby how we protect the data, how we protect, how we comply to the local laws, how we protect international laws for trade, for data privacy, for all of these things. So I think there's a huge amount of effort which is done in our organization. And I see now in Pakistan, there's a lot of sense of realization is there. I see a lot of government organization now, they're coming up with policies. So there's a lot of, it's not totally a few months back, we had a couple of sessions with the names. We had a session specifically with the government, with MOIT, with other ministries on data protection. There are drafts which are being done, which have been done. I think the banking sector is doing an excellent job in this. They have their own compliances. State Bank is all there. So I think there's a huge amount of, it's like a race which people are trying to learn from other countries, other regulatory authorities, other think tanks, and they're adopting. So, but Pakistan is not nowhere behind this. So we may be slow in one or two areas, but we are catching up, I think. Organization, country, policy, regulators, everyone is after this. I see no one resting on this.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone, for the questions and participation. I'll just like take a little, I think, half a minute for just wrapping up and the key messages. So one of the key messages that, of course, there is disruption, but there is a lot of opportunity as well, not only for individuals, but also for organizations and collectively as a region. So disruption actually erodes the previously created competitive advantages, and new competitive advantages can be built. So I think this is one of the key things. Digital acumen is critical, and we need to like focus on that as an organization, as individuals, and with the right culture across the organization, it is something which is which will gel very well. There is a lot of collaboration needed between the different institutions, academia, banks, regulators, other organizations in tech firms, and we need to see non-conventional methods of collaborating with others, and also to build capabilities and to augment capacities. There is like a product-driven mindset needed rather than functional silos, or outcome-driven mindset which is needed in the organization, which requires organizations to be more agile and be more responsive to change. I think it is the last, but I think one of the things which was said in earlier. So we need to look at future as an opportunity rather than as a threat. So thank you very much, everyone, and wish you all the best. Thanks to the panelists.
Thank you very much. It was a sheer pleasure interacting with all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.